Hey guys, it's Talon. So I'm here just uploading a YouTube coaching session because the person I was coaching wanted me to. Don't really expect super common uploads from me still. Not really super focused on YouTube, more just streaming on Twitch. So yeah, if it's a kind of random upload, apologies for that. I may at some point get back into YouTube, but honestly with you guys, not too sure if I ever will again really get into posting very often. But if you are interested in coaching or anything, there's always the links in the description to my Discord server. You can DM me there. But yeah, let's get right into it. Hopefully you guys can learn a thing or two. I definitely think that the coaching is not super valuable early on. I feel like I was kind of not giving great points, but I feel like later on when we get near the end in the Lucian game, it's a lot better value. And I feel like I give some good information there. So maybe stick around for that. I'll see you guys later. But I mean, if you're playing Jinx, you don't really want to play lane phase anyways. You just want to scale, so.
Yeah.
And you want late frozen because you have a Jarvan, so.
Yeah, I think Hero's just trying to break the freeze.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if we do, we want to get it push as fast as possible, which you do, so that's good. I'll probably skip through some of the, like, early parts if it doesn't look like much happens. Because again, like, you don't want to be trading aggressively since your jungler's not here, but like if your jungler was pathing towards you, then like that's when we'd want to look for a lot of autos. Like even looking for so many autos here when their jungle should be here is not very smart, and it did end up not working out anyway. But trading aggressively, even if you think like it's going to be a closer trade, when again your jungler's not here and theirs is likely to here because of the fact that he started blue side, not the best. But yeah, I mean it is what it is.
I was hugging the wall there too, and saying like
Yeah, obviously that's gonna make Vayne stun you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I mean the main thing is ADC is just like choosing your times of trade based on your jungle path thing is a lot more effective than just kind of like, obviously if there's a good trade, take it, but you're not going to want to be playing as aggressive as like in those scenarios when your jungler's not near.
Okay, that's good to know.
And then even here, like walking up like that, I mean the Vayne didn't really punish you that hard, but Vayne could punish you a lot harder, and you walked up before your support got there and the wave's pushing into you, so that's kind of unnecessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean this is kind of hard to survive. You get a kill, so it's not the end of the world. But yeah, I mean, so far it's just making decisions based on jungle and like who's with you rather than just kind of doing what you feel like.
Okay. And then, wait, I don't know if we fight for dragon yet.
Your jungler is taking forever, but yeah, I mean, you should have been on the objective right away, hitting it. I don't know why you're kind of like lagging. It looks like, or
I don't know. I just was like not sure what we're doing, so I was just waiting for the wave, I think. And then
yeah, I mean,
I
there's
entered the fight like really bad. It's my position here is like shit. Like on these dragon skirmishes like this, I don't know how to like enter.
yeah.
I guess I'm just there too late.
So going initially, they're obviously on Herald as we see, so we want to be doing drag as fast as possible. So you want to just be bursting it. You don't want to be like looking for a fight because you're probably not going to win a fight. You're down quite a bit. So as soon as they get there, you want to leave. So your goal is just to get the dragon and then get out. And also, you don't have to worry that much about Vayne pushing the wave because Vayne's going to take forever to push it. And also, it's more valuable getting the dragon even if you lose a wave because like your team is on the dragon. If you want to push the wave, that's usually what you do like 10 seconds before the dragon is spawning or something. But if it's this late, then you just kind of have to go there. And your team would have probably gotten dragon if you were there, but instead you end up not getting it. You get a double kill luckily, which is kind of pretty lucky, but like it works out in that sense. But yeah, you just have to be with your team on the objective like when they're going to go for it quicker.
Okay. And like if I say I was on the dragon there,
Yeah.
like I see Zeds coming up the river and like Vayne's in the top lane, where would I like ideally position myself?
You'd probably want to start walking like so early on we'd be on the dragon hitting it because like they wouldn't be there in time, right? When your team's on it here, like you just hit it. But then once they start coming and collapsing, you'd want to walk towards the Vayne because Vayne can't really like kill you. So you'd probably want to start walking in a way where you're not going to get hit by the wall. So I'd probably just want to be like pretty much where you are right now, But you'd be here initially hitting the dragon, and then as they're coming, you'd walk back more here and start just like poking Vayne out.
Okay.
So, like once you are in this fight, you play it well, like your positioning and not being too aggro, and also just getting a lot of autos off. Like you play the fight itself very well. It's just you weren't there quick enough, but that's about it. So I mean,
Okay, that's really helpful.
also I'm gonna like if you're not taking notes, I'm gonna write down notes at the end, like just some basic stuff to remember, because I'm not gonna. We'll go through like everything that I see just in the game as like I see it, but then when you're going for like actually trying to improve at the game, don't try to fix every single small thing I'm telling you right now, because like that's way too much. Like you want to find like your like 3 or 4 big issues. I don't really know what you're doing here, but you just want to find those like couple big issues and only focus on those, because it's about building like the habit of something rather so that you don't have to actively think about so many things when you're playing, because nobody's able to think about 20 different things. So the more things that become natural to you, obviously it's a lot easier to play in that case. So the way to build the habits is to only focus on 1 or 2 things at a time, you know what I mean, rather than like all of these little things that we go over. So my bad, I'm kind of not making sense, but
No, I got you. I saw that in a video of yours actually, I think,
yeah.
where you talked about that.
Yeah, it's funny, I like repeat myself a lot when I'm coaching people. Like usually it's the same things. It's like people don't farm enough and they don't focus on like actually actively improving. They just kind of play the game. Like a lot of these things you're doing are autopilot. Like when your jungler is not here, you're still trading the same as if your jungler was here. When your support's not nearby, you're walking up on the wave the same way as if he's there. It's like the autopilot things you just don't think about. I don't really know like what. Never mind. Yeah, this is kind of not much you can do until your jungle comes. But like you should, again, your jungler's coming, so you should be walking at the wave now rather than backing as soon as he's coming. It's like the time where you traded the most was when nobody was there with you, but then the people come to help you and then you leave. So
yeah,
I think, yeah, just map awareness is really like the main thing for the early game.
I think I'm like too impatient as well, like walking up on my own.
Well, I think like when you play ADC, you can't do things yourself. You don't get to make decisions. The way you make decisions on ADC is by pinging people and just like being opportunistic. You have to be at the mercy of your teammates' dumb decisions, unfortunately. So like if you don't like that, don't play this role. But if that's how if you want to play ADC, which you seem pretty good at, you just have to accept when your team does dumb stuff, and you just have to make the most of when they're actually making proper plays. So you need to be trading aggressively when you see your teammates coming towards you, but then you also need to be really aware, because sometimes they're going to randomly just leave, right? So like you have to be constantly paying attention to if they're actually paying attention, and using pings a lot so that they're aware that you're trying to bait them or that you want to go in. So basically just using pings and then actually going aggro when they're in a position to help you is kind of the way that you can impact the game more than just auto attacking and dealing damage, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And also getting good wards early game for like depending on jungle. Like enemy jungle here is not going to gank you until level 5 because it's Zed and he's going to be blue side at the start. So like warding early doesn't matter. But say you got Prio at level 3 right before Scuttle's coming, and again, you know Zed's probably not going to be in a dangerous position to kill you. You can ward like his Raptors or I mean his Krugs if you have Prio and everything. And then you'll see him right before he comes to you, because that's going to be the camp that gets him level 5. So like those types of things help you avoid deaths. And again, you don't have a ton of agency, especially as Jinx, so you have to find these small things that are just going to like stop you from dying one time or something.
Right there, I just like brain lagged and walked into the Zed, but
yeah, I mean, there's
like,
not much to go over there. Sometimes
where
we
would
do
I
so.
actually have pathed out of base there? Like I'm assuming it was wrong to even go up there by Zed.
Let's see, so where is you already died at this point, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm trying to how far back when so out of base, he's Zed there. I mean, yeah, you can't really walk at him. I would farm these right now. I would just take that camp. Like my jungler's not taking it, so I'm gonna. And you can just wait for the wave to come under your turret, and then yeah, like by the time you finish farming this camp, then the turret would be at your or the wave would be at your turret, and then you just get more gold. So like don't be afraid to take jungle camps a lot as ADC, especially. Obviously, just don't take the buffs, but Yeah, so like after I get this wave is when I would want to start going mid if I can. I mean, it's kind of hard when you're down this much, but at this point I'd try to again ping Orianna to rotate, and then I'd go mid. If she doesn't, then maybe I'm gonna have to stay top, but since the wave's pushing, we might as well rotate. And again, I'd use this fight as a time to go mid. Like I would just take the mid wave now, because I don't think I'm gonna be useful in the fight. Like it looks like the fight's already over by the time you're gonna get there. So you could have pushed the mid wave because they're all distracted. Like no one's probably gonna be on you.
Okay.
And also, since Dragon's spawning, you'd have Prio then, so then they'd either lose that like 200 gold of that wave to their turret, or they'd deal with it, and then you'd have more time on the Dragon. But now you see you're here, and say Zed wasn't here, hypothetically, on bot side, and you didn't see him, he could have killed you here, because no one else is here, so you don't actually have vision. You have a little bit of vision, but not very much. So, like,
Right.
sometimes that happens right on the mid wave, and if you were there earlier, you wouldn't even have to worry about that potential. What is this? Oh, that was your screen. That's I was confused. What kind of phone do you have? Is it an Android or something?
Yeah, Galaxy.
Okay, I use iPhones, so I was confused. But yeah, there's not much you can do here. I mean, like, again, your positioning in most of these fights is pretty good. Like, it seems like once you're in the team fight, you play them well, from what I can tell so far. Not that we haven't had many team fights, but problem is your mana is so low here too, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you play that well. Again, I think you could have farmed, probably be looking to farm that camp when you can on blue side. I mean, it's fine right now to be looking for this kill, obviously, but just looking for the camps as much as possible and squeezing as much gold as you can.
Okay.
And like here, you didn't have to be so scared of Zed. Like I feel like if I'm playing this, I would be walking here because then you can auto him if he goes here or here. Obviously, he might go up to that one, but like you can try, you know, going on him, or you can even place traps on that so that if he goes there, he gets rooted. I don't know if you had traps up yet, but if you did,
Fair enough.
good though. So yeah, this is when I would want to go topside. I would just want to farm that entire thing. Like everyone's resetting, you know, you have time to go topside and get the gold and probably get the gold bounty on the turret. Like I wouldn't really expect people to be there. I guess if your team starts fighting here, then you'd have to go. But I would have been like walking initially towards top, and then I would come once I realized they're still fighting.
Okay.
Just trying to get as much gold as possible is like the main thing for Jinx, obviously.
I think I wanted to go top here, but I was like scared they would go Baron. But like
Yeah.
I guess if I went top originally, it would have been fine.
Well, like again, if you were, I would have walked top, but I would have done the same thing you did eventually once they started fighting, and I would have walked towards Baron. Like so, I would have done the same thing. It's just you weren't initially, but if you were thinking about it, that's good enough. Because again, in the end, it was correct to go towards Baron. Just always try to like be thinking about if you have an opportunity to go to those, you know, turrets, especially when they have gold bounties and everything.
All right.
And again, like I just farm Gromp right now. There's no reason not to. I guess we can fight him? Okay, I thought he would just leave. Okay, I mean, it works out. And then it's kind of hard because you and Orianna both want blue buff from your Jarvan, but I would try to take it because I would try to carry the game. And then Orianna just steals it. All right. You can also go get red right now, but I mean, yeah, your team, I guess, is going for it. You should be walking up. I think you could have probably walked. I guess the Jones on turret actually. So never mind.
Yeah.
I mean, that's mostly unfortunate. I guess you could have probably been there earlier. To be honest, if I'm playing the ADC in this game, I would have been distracted too, and I probably wouldn't have helped with the Yon. But like in hindsight, obviously we could have been on the bot wave earlier, so he didn't do that.
That's true.
That was kind of funny. Guess we get a shutdown. Do you have stasis yet, or like what are you building in this game?
That's another thing. Is when I saw this, I was thinking if I had stasis, I would have been good. But I'm like scared to buy stasis
What
too
are your
early. Like
items?
I
Because do
don't
you
know
have
when to
Lord, or
buy
do you
it.
have a shield bow?
No, I think I went Bloodthirster, Infinity Edge, and Hurricane, and
I
then
feel
I
like
go
you
like
don't need.
Magnetic.
I don't think you need Infinity Edge second item. It's not like that much more damage when you only have 50% crit. It's like 75 and 100 is when it's actually like really valuable. I mean, obviously it's good always on Jinx, but I think in a game where they have 3 assassins, you should just go for shield bow because
Okay. Yeah, and like I guess I should already have had Hourglass by then. I feel like it's a waste of 1,000 gold, but like you need it. So
I would say you want to make sure you have Hourglass after like 3 items. You definitely want it before Elder fight, like at the very minimum, because that's going to be the fight where it's going to be really valuable and like could win or lose the game. So as long as you have stasis before Elder, it's fine. Or like after
okay.
3 items, if you are pretty strong, then that's fine too. It also depends on like who you have and like how much peel you have on your team and stuff. Like with Thresh, it's not as like you're more likely to survive, or like if you had like a Lulu, right? Like those types of things will help you survive more, so it's not as important to build defensively. And yeah, like when you're behind in a game like this, it's better to agree to your build and not build the defensive stuff, because you're not going to be able to carry at all if you are wasting gold on defensive stuff. But like getting shield bow is like going to still help you with that, but you also get pretty similar damage, so it's not going to be super negative. They're on the Baron, but it's not much you can do. You can just pray he steals it. That was close. Holy shit. I mean, again, like I like that you're trying to 1v4 this, because that's what you have to do to win the game. Not really an issue with what you did there. It just didn't work out. If your teammate stole that too, like you might have ended up coming back. I don't know, but probably game, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, later on in the game, there's not like a ton you can do in this game. The main thing is the early game, like just awareness in general and making your decisions based on what your jungler is doing. I feel like it's like the #1 thing to focus on for these games.
Okay.
This game looked pretty hard to win once you got later in the game, so.
And then this one, like I feel like okay, and we lost, and I was 4K gold ahead of their ADC, but I feel like I sometimes am like too desperate or like trying to force things early because I have this like weird belief, I guess, that like if I don't get super fed early game, I won't be able to do anything. So like in this game, I force a lot of
You have that
stuff. It's
belief on
really
every
bad.
champion, or just like because you're Lucian?
Like just in general on ADC, like I don't know why, like I force stuff a lot because I'm worried if I don't get a lead. Like if I just go 0-0, I'm worried that it's gonna be like team diff.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
then I end
that's,
up like feeding or like fucking up.
if that's how you feel, then you should play Lucian or Varus or Jhin every game, like, you know, an early game champ. If that's how you prefer to play the game, that's fine. That's how I played AC. I would have the same mindset, and that's how I ended up climbing. But you can't really do that in solo queue. In solo queue, you have to make the decision based on how good or bad your ADC is, or your support is. If you're duo queue, then you can play that way, and you can just like communicate with your teammate. But okay, there's already a lot here. So in general, just when you have that mindset of like trying to win the game, what you should be thinking about is taking the opportunity that comes to you, right? When there's the opportunity to be aggressive, you're aggressive. So looking at this game, where Lucian, Lulu, and Ashe Brand is a pretty even matchup, but we can win it early game. I would start E. I wouldn't. I think did you start Q? I don't know, but
I did, yeah.
I feel like E is going to be more effective here. That's debatable. Yeah, like you can do Q. It's kind of up to you. But looking, like the main thing you wanted to look at to decide on what you can do is scaling, and then like jungle matchups, deciding on if you can be aggro or not. There's a Lilia. She's not going to gank you early very often. We have a Wukong. He likes fighting at level 3 and ganking. So being aggressive early is perfectly fine because of that, and because like our matchup wants to be aggressive early. But say enemy was Jarvan and we have like Shyvana, we just want to be chilling and trying to get to late game. And like if an opportunity to kill someone comes up, then we do that, but we're going to manage our wave safely and just kind of play for them, you know what I mean? And obviously sometimes it doesn't work out, but at the end of the day, it's just about taking the opportunities that come for you. But then in this lane, your Lulu is back here. and you're walking up 1v2 into two people who can both auto attack and use all their abilities on you. So you're of course going to lose this absurdly hard because your support's nowhere near you. Like when you trade, you want to make sure your support is able to auto attack at the same time you are. So when your support's here and you're here, then you want to trade. But when they're this far back, you're just going to lose the trade very, very hard, and that's what happens.
Yeah. It's just like way too desperate.
Yeah, exactly. So you're right. You're trying to force stuff instead of waiting until your support is ready to force the stuff. And you're also taking minion damage because your minions are dead and theirs aren't. So, and also taking the heal level 1. Then you don't have like the heals. Obviously, does more healing the higher level you are. So you're also wasting health because of that. But since it's a Lilia, I don't expect that you would die. At this point, I want to back as soon as I can, though. Are you Ignite?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should not take Ignite. You should definitely take Exhaust, because it makes it way harder to carry late game. Like, if the Lilia is chasing you and you can't exhaust her, you're going to get screwed over. Exhausting probably wins you the lanes harder, too. I don't even think Ignite is better for winning lane phase, because exhausting them slows them, and they do less damage to you, you get more autos off. So definitely never take Ignite ever again on Lucian ADC.
Okay.
But yeah, you're way too aggressive. You're like trying to trade without being aware of your Lulu. Just pay attention. When you have an enchanter, the way you play lane is you need to be autoing at the same time, using abilities at the same time. And a lot of times people are going to do what you just did there, where you walk up 1v2 and then you win the trades that way. So instead of you just don't pay attention to your teammates, basically. You try to do the same thing every game, whether it's paying attention to jungle, you're not aware of that, aware of what your Lulu wants to do. You're only trying to do what you want to do, you know what I mean? So when we're playing a duo lane, we have to be more aware of what our team wants. And then when we have like an engaged support, that's when we're waiting for them to hit a hook. And obviously you can try to bait people in to make it easier for them to hit a hook or engage or whatever, but yeah, like you can use your dash to bait these types of things, but going like all out and using your dash forward when your support's not able to follow up. And then also you didn't really need to back in this situation, because now you probably just lose more gold. Maybe not, but I think you're getting froze on right now, so. And yeah, we're down 500 gold, so.
In matchups with like skill shots that are like kind of hard to dodge, like say the brand Q or
Dash W, yeah.
Yeah, and like Lux and stuff, like should I just be playing safe until they burn it, and then like instead of trying to dodge it, just like stay back farther and see if they use it?
I mean, that depends on how confident you are in success of that. Like if you have your E, you can dodge a Lux Q relatively consistently, or at least a lot of people can. So if you can as well, then do that. So it's more about like, you need to think about what abilities you're going to use on what. So if you're into a Lux, you're like, okay, I can just E to the right and then say that they're Lux support and it's like Jinx, right? Like if a Lux uses her Q and you dodge it, all she has is E, and and Jinx doesn't do much damage early game. And say your support's anywhere near you, you're winning that trade 100% of the time. So 100% you want to walk for it. And say like, again, you have exhaust, you E forward to the right to dodge the Lux Q, you exhaust the Jinx, there's basically no damage being dealt to you while you get Lucian autos, which are absurd amounts of damage, obviously. So you just need to think before you do it about what they're going to do in response, rather than just doing it and then like hoping you dodge it, basically. Like think about the risk of dodging it versus the reward of not dodging it, because again, a Jinx and Lux early game are not going to kill you. Even if you get hit by a root, you're just going to lose flash, and you have to be okay with that, and then going behind if you do fuck it up.
Okay.
Also paying attention to spells, like Ashe has Ghost, so it doesn't deal extra damage or stop your damage, for example. Like when an ADC has Ghost, you can be more aggressive in lane as well, because you're not going to get exhausted when you go in or something. So those types of things too. And like even here, Ashe didn't quite have arrow, but like you would expect she has arrow because it was really close to being off cooldown. Dashing forward into a Lux or into an Ashe like that didn't really make sense either, even though nothing happened. You're trying way too hard to force without anything really being able to happen.
Okay.
I like that you farm this so early. Unfortunately, your Lulu gets caught, but since your jungler's on the opposite side, this is good. And then I would just try to push top, yeah, if you can. You might not be able to, but yeah, your goal should be the wave right now because your jungler's not here. So it's kind of funny because you made the opposite choice in the game. You should have made the choice you made last game.
Yeah.
Because yeah, if we push this wave, Ash would lose it like a minute or two, which is a small thing, but and also I don't like that you're taking his blue buff. Like now you're kind of screwing Wukong over because Wukong really wants a blue buff early game, so this kind of screws him over pretty bad. I mean, I know you need the mana right now, but you could have just recalled after you pushed top wave instead. And I guess it results in a kill. I wouldn't really expect this to work, but it did. But at the end of the day, it still trades 1-for-1.
Yeah, it's way too aggressive still.
Yeah, I mean, like, once that opportunity came up, it's fine. But you could have done the same thing, but you could have been recalled after you'd shoved that top wave, and you'd still be in the same situation at the end. And you would have had more items and full mana and everything. But yeah, it is what it is.
That's true.
Also, since you just died, now nobody has a blue buff. Kind of sucks.
Yeah.
We're ahead in gold still, though, so I mean, it's not bad. At this point in the game, I'm less concerned about laning as much, and I'm more concerned about just getting the wave pushed and then trying to help my team if I can. But the Ashe, she has arrow. Like, if a good Ashe would arrow you there and you die. Like, if her support was anywhere nearby and you had no reason to expect that Brand was so far behind, she could have arrowed you and then Ashe or Brand would stun you and then you die if you would dash forward like that, if Brand flashes or anything like that. Which again, he doesn't have that, but I don't feel like you're probably aware of that. Maybe you are, but...
Okay.
So just try to think more in general, like when you're walking the lane, I think is the best time to make these, like to try to theory craft what's going to happen when you make decisions, right? Because like you need to think about how they're actually going to respond. So the main things are, where's their jungle and mid wave? Like looking at the mid wave to see if there's no mid wave here, or like it's pushed under your tower, then you know the enemy mid's more likely to rotate. And obviously, if you spot jungle, then you know where he is. Maybe you don't. Who knows? And then after that, thinking about if I do dash forward, again, what do I need to dodge? What are they going to do in response rather than just hoping it works because you feel like dashing forward because Lucian sometimes does good when he dashes on people. Yeah, that's that Brand was just in the bush. What the fuck? And again, like this worked out, but there wasn't much thought. It just kind of worked. And it didn't really end up working actually, so. Yeah, just try to ask yourself more questions in general in the game. I have a feeling you're playing mostly on autopilot.
Okay.
Kind of looks like how I play when I'm on stream, when I'm like talking to chat or not paying attention.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why, again, like if you build these habits, then what you're doing now, like when you're in this state of mind, once it's a habit, like it's hard to break, right? So once you make like certain things, like checking the map when you're walking the lane or asking yourself those questions, once it becomes a habit, then you don't have to think about it anymore. But initially, I think in the early game, the main things that you need to start focusing on are the locations of your jungler versus the enemy jungler, and then asking yourself basic questions like how are they going to respond? And then probably the third thing is paying attention to the positioning of your support before you decide to trade or not.
Okay.
And again, if you want, we can write these things down. Otherwise, I'll upload the video in like a day or two. Either way is cool.
Yeah, I'll probably watch the video a couple times.
Yep. And again, like watch the video, right? Decide 1 to 2 things you want to do early game and 1 to 2 things you want to do mid-late game. And then only focus on those. For the rest of the game, just play autopilot like you're playing right now. But think about those 3 to 4 things while you're playing until they become natural. And then maybe go back and watch the video again, and then find 2 or 3 smaller things that we talked about, and then think about those. And then, keep doing that once you feel like you built the previous habits. And that's like a better way to go about improving. And it's not going to be instant. You're not suddenly, because of this coaching session, going to reach Grandmaster in 2 days. You're still going to be stuck in the same elo for a while. But once you build these habits, say by the end of the season, or maybe once next season comes around, you'll start having these habits built, and then you'll maybe get to Grandmaster. Improvement's not going to be some crazy thing where just because you paid for someone's coaching, you're suddenly going to become way better, right? Like it's a small thing, and you have to be patient about it and build the habits. It took me months and months to even climb from like Grandmaster to Challenger or anything like that. So it'll take a long time. You just have to be patient.
Yeah.
And again here, like, let's actually talk about this as well in the fight. So when you're going into this fight, first of all, you're low mana. You probably should have been backed. Like, so already going back this far. We're trading. There's about 40 seconds. We want to be, by the time that there's a minute to 30 seconds left when an objective is spawning, we want to know that it's spawning and be setting up for it, because we're only going to fight 3 dragons a game, right? These are the most important things as an ADC. So we want to maybe trade aggressively, see if we can get a kill, if we can get an item from the kill. Otherwise, this kill on Brand does nothing for the dragon in 40 seconds. All it does is maybe waste your ult, maybe waste your flash, unless you like feel like you can just kill him, right? So like if it looked really obvious, then you could try to kill him. But if we're looking at what actually happened, you dashed into 2 people who should have, Ash had arrow, he should have killed you. You should have already died once. You should be dead. He luckily didn't kill you, but again, you're forcing a fight when this is just going to lose your ult or your flash. You don't have ult, but it's going to lose your flash, right, if you do possibly get the kill, and he's going to respawn by the time dragon comes. So you gain no actual value from it. And you're forcing something where, again, you should have died anyway.
Yeah.
But then it works out, I guess, because you blow his flash, even though you shouldn't have. But you lose flash, you lose your Lulu ult. You don't have either of these for the dragon fight, right? So it's going to be way harder to win the dragon fight. So that's the initial thing. A minute to 30 seconds for the objective. Stop wasting shit for no reason, unless it's very, very easy to get free kills, or you're trying to force so that you can get, like, Infinity Edge or something, right? Otherwise, don't do that. And then once we're, again, you're farming instead of recalling and getting mana and stuff. Also stupid, 8 seconds until objective. So awareness of objective, very important. But then once we're going to this fight, we need to think to ourselves, what do they have? What do I need to use my abilities for? So like, I'm going to ask you, if you're in this fight currently and you're just thinking to yourself, what abilities do you want to try to dodge, or what abilities do you have to dodge or you die, basically? Like just looking at their team comp.
The Lilia ball and the Morgana Q is like what would be on my mind. And
then like obviously if like a Riven flashes on you or an Ashe arrows you, but you know Ashe is arrowed, so you're not scared of that. So yeah, Morgana Q or any CC, basically any form of CC is generally what we're worried about. The Lilia ball I'm not as worried about, because if she sleeps me, once I get hit once, I can run away or whatever. Like I'll still have my dash. But you're right. Generally, just keeping track of that CC. And now you have to ask yourself, is any of it dodgeable or not, right? Obviously, the Lilia ball you can dodge with your E. You could also dodge the Lilia or the Morgana Q. And if you had Flash, then that's 2 abilities that you can dodge their 2 key abilities and carry the fight. So if you were able to dash the Morgana Q and then flash the Lilia ball or whatever, and then say you had a QSS too, right? Then you can also QSS an Ashe arrow. So you're like, okay, these 3 abilities I'm going to pay attention to. Everything else I'm just going to react. And obviously it's never going to work perfectly. So you have to kind of order what's most likely to happen to you. Like for me, I think it's pretty likely that an Ashe is going to try to arrow me, or that like a Riven is going to flash Q me. Obviously he doesn't have flash, but I don't think you know that. But I think Morgana Q misses a lot, right? Like I'm more confident that a Morgana Q might just miss me, or she might go for someone else. And then at the same time, we're paying attention to if those abilities are used. So you know the key abilities. So in that fight, if you see a Morgana Q go out, you know you can dash onto the Morgana and you're not really scared of anything.
Another thing is, like, realistically, would you have a QSS at this point versus their team? Because I feel like that is probably a good idea.
I think after second item, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what item you're on, but you're probably pretty close to, is what, 35 divided by, so you have like 7k. So yeah, you might have QSS by now. Pretty close. But instead, let's look what, actually, I didn't really watch like the fight itself. So how do we get so low? So instead of thinking about wanting like a, so maybe you're looking here and you're like, Morgana Q is gone. But if you saw that Morgana Q was just gone, you'd be dashing to the left and then trying to auto her here or something. But instead you walk up, you're not really thinking about anything. You're just like, there's people here, I want to fight, I'm going to try to fight. And then you walk forward and then people walk at you and you die, or you almost die. Luckily you end up getting saved. But again, like waiting for the fight to break out more, waiting for those abilities, you don't have to be so impatient, basically, is kind of the main thing. Wait for those abilities to come out, wait for your team to walk forward. You can't do that yourself. Again, if you were into a ton of skill shot champs, and there were like only a few champs with hard CC, like say there was like a Lux, and then all the other champs were like Mundo and champs that can't just kill you instantly with CC, then you could do what you just did there, and you could bait them and dash around and kite them and whatever. But in a game like this, that's not possible. They have 5 champs that could all realistically CC you at some point, so you have to be a lot more patient and wait for your team a lot more.
Okay.
And then like another random thing, if you're into those comps like Mundo and a ton of champs that can't hard CC you, try Navori like 2nd or 3rd item on Lucian, because you can dash all over the place and you're like never gonna die because you just have an infinite amount of dashes and none of them have hard CC for you. So
What do you think are like a good first 2 items on Lucian? Because I go Bloodthirster. I feel like that's kind of troll.
I feel like you've already seen multiple times this game, we've seen you're on like 1 mana. Like I like Essence Reaver a lot because then I never feel like I have mana problems. And then 2nd item, I'm either going for Bloodthirster into most teams, like a team like this, or I'm going for Navori if I'm into the teams I was talking about earlier that are really easy to kite. Apart from that, you can maybe go Lord Doms if there's like a game like before, like Zed and Akali and those types of champs, maybe. But I think those are the 3 main items for 2nd item I would choose, and I would always go Essence Reaver first.
Okay. And then right here, I just like run down, try to fight the Riven. Like, where should I have gone instead?
Yeah, let's see. So, there's no objective up, so the only goal is gold, right? That's the only thing. So going here, perfectly fine. I would want this wave too. Wasting your dash when you don't know where people is a little risky. I mean, I would, if I'm in this situation, I would do it too because it looks pretty safe, but probably a good habit to have at some point. Smaller thing.
Mhm.
He shows up kind of out of nowhere. Honestly, ideally, I would have probably done the same thing. Not really that surprising that you die here. I don't know, like, I don't really have that big of a problem with this mistake. You're on your side of the map farming when the wave is pushing into you. You probably should have saved your dash. But honestly, I don't really have that big of an issue with his death here. I feel like it's fine. Sometimes those types of things just happen. Maybe you could have warded somewhere, but yeah, I honestly, I don't think this is that bad of a death at all.
All right.
And again, like, it's a mistake, but it's like, we don't need to focus on tiny mistakes that I think are pretty realistic and understandable to make. These are more like the things you try to like optimize once you feel like you're like really good on all those like bigger things that we've talked about earlier. These types of small mistakes are going to happen. It's pretty hard to avoid all of them. I don't love pushing top because of Baron. Like, we don't have any vision, so like I'm kind of scared they just randomly sneak it. And like going for this extra wave is definitely too much at this point.
Okay.
I would want to be rotating towards mid. Like, maybe you push the wave like you did, but once you have the lane pushing into them, I would want to be on mid wave. And like, we picked Brand because he's really stupid, but if he wasn't really stupid, it doesn't work. So I'd rather just be going to mid after we push the wave enough where it's now going to push towards their turret. And then once they react, then we can go back and get easy farm on top side. And again, you're very scared in this. Like, you didn't need to flash at all. And yeah, if you had QSS, it'd be really nice this game, specifically.
I think that flash is because like I'm not actively thinking about the abilities and stuff like you were saying.
Yeah, you're
So,
just
like,
scared because
instant
people are near
flash.
you, which is understandable. And you also know how good your reaction time is. Like, for me, my reaction time sucks, so I have to think about it or I'm not going to. Like, that's why I don't play ADC on stream, because I can't think actively while I'm like streaming. It's harder for me, so I just don't play ADC because my reactions suck and I can't think about all these abilities. But that makes it way easier when you're doing, like, when you're playing, if you're thinking about what can kill you at all points, especially when you're fed. Like, when you're not fed, then you can do this type of shit. Like, say someone else on your team is carrying, then it's enough for you to just like kind of react to shit and just try to get some damage off. But when you're the main carry, when you're really fed, it's really important to always be thinking about what can kill you, like, at all points in time. Because honestly, if you break it down really simply, the goal of ADC is to get gold, deal damage, and not die in team fights. And that's about it. So you really think about those 3 things and you're going to be better than 95% of ADCs already. So
Okay. So like here is this is kind of greedy, right? Farming the Gromp. I should already be with my team.
no, I'm fine with farming it. I don't really mind. I mean, your team fighting in a pretty dumb spot. I don't think it's really bad to farm it. I don't think you would have done much in this fight. You would have just been able to ult slightly sooner. And again, the objective is spawning now, like, so it's fine to be doing that before the objective. But that actually is true, though. You were not going to back for the objective. This is the third dragon. You're not going to back before you get that Gromp, so you probably could have just got that Gromp after. So yeah, like, yeah, now that I think about it, there's no point in farming when an objective is about to spawn because you're not going to spend the gold, right? So
Okay.
you probably could have been with your team earlier. Yeah, you're right.
That's a good thing to keep in mind, like if I'm gonna spend it or not.
Yeah.
That'll help make a decision.
But yeah, you don't need to like overly obsess about being in every fight. Like that type of fight, I don't think you would have done anything really different and your team just kind of fought stupidly. But yeah, technically could have been there. Wait, what is this that keeps happening?
I think I like didn't touch the screen for too long.
Oh. You get a good shutdown. I assume you're pretty close to an item, so I'd want to be trying to farm. Oh yeah, I really like third or fourth item on Lucian into games like this where it's really hard to get close because they have so much CC. I think you have it the magnetic blaster item. That one is really good into these types of comps. But again, if you're into the comp we talked about earlier, like the Mundo and the people who can't hard CC you, then don't go this item because you don't need it. You can just dash all around and you're fine. And because this item does a lot less damage. Like the damage is a lot lower, so you only do it in games where you need to be really safe, like this one.
Okay.
Lucian's like one of the few ADCs that can actually build different items. Like I feel like so many ADC champions like only have like 5 items max that they build, but you can actually build so much shit on him.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever try like the Black Cleaver build too, but
yeah. Sometimes I usually like if they had a few bruisers, I would have gone Black Cleaver second, I think.
yeah. Yeah, going like Essence Reaver Black Cleaver is kind of nice. And like maybe Blade of the Rune King third if they are really tanky. And Mortal Reminder is really, really, really good right now for Lucian now that it's like crit and armor pen and everything.
Okay.
That's the thing about Lucian. There's so many, like, I always want to build more items on him. It's hard to decide for just 4 crit items. And yeah, here there's not much you can do. I mean, you're just autoing and your team dies. That is what it is. Most of the mistakes come earlier. At this point, it's kind of hard to play. And here I would go towards Elder. I would not go here. You should just give it up already, and then you should be getting first move on Elder.
That makes sense.
And maybe you steal it, or you don't, yeah. That'd be pretty funny if you stole it, and I'd be like, I just shut up. Do the coaching.
That was pretty pointless to go there, though.
Yeah, I mean, even this, again, I don't think we're going to spend this gold. And the Elder's here. If they get Elder, you lose the game instantly, but you're farming Rogues, so.
You're right.
I love how he's scared to, he could have just stunned you. Like, so scared to use his abilities on you when you're on him.
Yeah.
That's kind of unfortunate. The Morgana Q hits you out of nowhere. I don't think you had vision, or maybe you did, but. Yeah, in the later fights, it was kind of over at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, you also have no percentage-based pen by this point, so you deal a lot less damage. You go, yeah, like this game, maybe I would go Bloodthirster. Well, maybe this game I would probably go Essence Reaver, Bloodthirster, Magnetic, and then I would go 4th item Mortal. I probably wouldn't go IE that game because it's kind of hard to auto a ton in that game. Maybe though, I mean, it's fine either way. Again, the build's pretty flexible. But at this point, I can start typing notes to you if you want to go over some like things to like keep in mind. So we'll start with the early game stuff. Fuck, I forgot how to. I'm gonna type it in my notes. I forgot how to. What's up?
It's shift enter.
Oh, well, too late. I'll just copy paste it and send it to you after. So early game, do you see this fine or no?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So starting with the early game, the main thing is jungle. I'm just gonna kind of type as I talk. Tell me if you want me to change the wording so it makes more sense to you.
You're
Pay
good.
attention to jungle. Trade more aggro. Jungle pathing. Us. Understand jungle. Understand what enemy jungle wants. I can't type. Holy shit. Zed starts blue. Ganks red side. Now I turned on caps lock. Yeah, I don't type very often. Ganks red side. Level 5. Like these types of things, just again, that's just an example, but like understand what the enemy jungle wants to do. Vi is going to look for a gank on level 3 or 4 and then look for another gank on level 5, for example, and understanding like basically they're just normal pathing. And if you don't know what pathing they are going to do, assume they're going to start red side because most junglers start red side. Only junglers like Zed and a couple others will start blue side. And then pay attention our or in lane when they are on a parallel line with us and we trade. That makes sense too? Like these things when I've typed so far?
Yeah.
That's not how you spell pay though. Okay. What else did we go over? I think the early game, is there anything else that we talked about? I'm trying to think.
I guess like the spell thing, like risk and reward.
Oh yeah. This is just in general for team fights. But yeah, we can start with in lane. Think about how enemy will react if we try to fight lane. For example, into Lux, if we dodge Q with Lucian E, then we hard win trade most of the time. So yeah, I think you'll be able to again like figure out more what I mean by this, right? If not, I can change
definitely.
the wording, but
Yeah, definitely.
and then once we get to the actual dragons, I also should separate these. They make more sense. Make sure, like, I'm trying to talk about 30 seconds before the objective. Make sure to set up for it. Push our lane. Buy items if needed. Don't farm jungle camps if we won't spend the gold before fight. That makes sense, I assume, too?
Yep.
And then we'll talk about during team fights, paying attention to specific spells. So before team fights, think about which spells have to dodge, which spells can dodge, and which spells you can tank. So obviously, like, if you really want to maximize your ability to carry in solo queue, you need to really understand the limits of your champ, and not enough where you know that you can face tank like a Lux queue and just go through, or whatever, you know, like you'll figure that out.
Right.
Thinking about which spells you can dodge. And when I say dodge, I think you're smart enough to understand. I mean, like, you can also be using QSS or an ability or whatever. Just think about how to react to the enemies, various things that they have, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think that makes sense.
It helps like assigning, like, okay, this ability, I'll use this.
Yeah, and try to put the most importance, because obviously, in the end of the day, if a Riven flash Qs on you, it doesn't matter what we said we were going to do. We're going to flash it, of course. But like assigning the importance of how likely it is to kill you, so which is why I have like the have to dodge versus like you can dodge it, and then which ones you don't have to. Kind of those 3 levels, if you can put it in like that type of like tier list in your mind, that's definitely going to be important. And I don't think there's much more that I want you to focus on right now in your games than these 4 or 5 things. If you're thinking about more, I think it's overwhelming and there's like too much to think about. But we can just write some things about like the Lucian build, unless you'll just remember them. I don't know if you want to write about it or not, but that's
yeah,
up to you.
if you don't mind, that would be great.
Yeah.
As
So
much as you
Lucian.
want to.
Also, what is your champ pool? How many champs do you play? There's a side question.
Jinx. I've just been playing Jinx, Kaylin, and Lucian mostly.
Good. That's perfect. I'm glad that you don't have 40 champs that you play. Definitely good. So the Lucian build thing. So start essence for basically every game. Second item, for into tanks. Navori if enemy be to kite. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then we said shield bow into tanky comp, or not into assassins.
So
and then
like for Jinx, if I'm building shield bow, should I get that first instead of Bloodthirster?
I think it depends.
Like if they have assassins or whatever.
Yeah, I think it depends on one. If you have like, if it's just a Zed and you have exhaust, you probably don't need it that early because Zed's damage is not like you can flash his damage and that type of thing. If they have like a lot of stuff that can kill you, then yeah, you can probably go it. So we can type for the Jinx build and we can type the rest of the. Well, actually, this is kind of just in general for building because any ADC can build. In general, build bow first to heavy assassin comps. So yeah, I would build shield bow instead of Bloodthirster first because you're gonna lose out on damage, but you're not gonna lose out on so much damage that you can't carry. But that kind of depends on your confidence, how the game's going. Like there's various factors that can come into it, but generally, yeah, if there's a lot of assassins, then being alive long enough to deal the damage is gonna be more beneficial than dealing slightly more damage. Because shield bow's stats are actually still really good. Like it gives you a lot of damage for sure.
Yeah, I think it's only like 15 AD difference, maybe.
I think it's 55 versus it depends. Yeah, it's not very much. Yeah, the only difference is like the passive from Bloodthirsters, but that got nerfed too. But yeah, like Bloodthirster is more damage. So if you don't need anything specific, you want Bloodthirster because of how much damage it gives you. But in games, again, if Navoria gets more value, go that. Not on Jinx, but on Lucian. If shield bow is going to give you more value, and you can still go Bloodthirster second on Jinx if you're going to go shield bow, and that's fine too. So yeah, back to the Lucian build. Should we talk more about like other situational items?
Yeah, please.
So
I have no idea.
So Solari is like insanely good in the really squishy comps. So now I'm not going to type about like order. I'm more just going to type some random good items, and then you can decide when based on the game.
Okay.
Go Infinity Edge, third or fourth. Anytime a better situational item is not applicable. Like I'm fine with skipping out on Infinity Edge if I really need the extra range from like Magnetic, or if I really want to kite with Navori or whatever, or if I need Shield Bow. So it's more like a thing again where if I can be greedy with my build, then obviously Infinity Edge is the most damage. But if I ever need one of those other passives, I'd rather just take that.
Okay.
And then Magnetic into comps where you can't get close, which is such as the Lucian example, the vid. And then I don't really like Collector, honestly. I mean, like if you want to go it, then you can go it. It's not like a bad item, but I feel like there's all these items passives are way more valuable, so I don't really ever want to go it. But yeah.
Okay.
Trying to think if there's more items. I don't think there's any more. but
Is GA ever a good item? Or like,
yeah. What's it? Well, we haven't really talked about like last items. Like once you have 100% crit. Once I have 100% crit, of 100% crit, go PA, heavy AD, wits into heavy AP. Then what other items are there? I don't really like Ma with the new Ma. I feel like you don't get value out of it because if you get bursted by AP, then like the shield is nothing basically compared to like wits dead.
mhm.
You could go Cyrilda's last if you don't have mortal. I mean, I think those are the 3 items I would usually go in my 5th slot, and I'm usually always filling full crit before I'm going another like GA or anything. Again, you can make a decision if enemy team has Zed, Yone, Yasuo, and like full AD. You could go GA 4th in that type of game, right? Instead, and slightly earlier, and you can make that type of decision. There's nothing like that. It's perfectly fine to do that. It's just pretty rare, so I'm not gonna like type about it necessarily.
Okay.
I think that's about it for the build. Are there any more questions or anything you have?
I don't think so.
All right, you can always DM me. Like even if you DM me a month from now, I usually respond relatively quickly. I'll upload the video in a couple days. If I forget, you can remind me that I haven't uploaded it in a couple days.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'll DM you when it's going to be uploaded. So and I'll copy paste these and send these messages.
Cool.
So.
I'll try and learn those like 1 or 2 at a time, and then
Yeah.
however long from now I'll hit you up for another session.
Sounds good. See you later.